Hello everyone. I've gotten some emails asking about this question, so I thought I would just make a video and send it to everybody. This is the last question from the Unit 1 functions homework, and it has a lot of parts, so it's a good question to study. But anyway, let's go through all the parts. So part 1 says find f of -21 and f of 6. Well, first you have to remember that this is function notation. This is f of x notation. It stands for the y value at any particular x. F of x is the y value at whatever the x is. So that means that f of -21 is the y value when x is -21. So looking at the graph, this curve has the point -21, -6. So when x is -21, y is -6. F of something is the y value, so it's asking for the y value of -6. And then for this one, f of 6 is asking for the y value when x is 6. And the graph has the point 6, -6. So when x is 6, y is -6. So it happens to be the same y value for here. That doesn't always happen. Next it says find f of 18. So what is y when x is 18? We have the point 18, 6. So when x is 18, y is 6. And then f of 0, what is y when x is 0? We have the point 0, -3. So when x is 0, y is -3. Okay, now part C, it says is f of 6 positive or negative? So again, this is function notation. F of something is the y value. So when x is 6, is the y value of the curve positive or negative? When x is 6, the y value is -6. So f of 6 is -6. -6 is negative. And then is f of -21 positive or negative? So is the y value when x is -21 positive or negative? Well, the y value is -6 when x is -21. So -6 is negative. Part E says for what values of x is f of x equal to 0? So for what values of x is y equal to 0? Or in other words, for what values of x is the curve on the x-axis, since the x-axis has the value of y equals 0? And it looks like we have 3 points where y is 0. And it's just asking for the x values with a comma in between. So those x values are -18, then -3, if I'm going left to right, and +12. Those are the x's where y is 0. Part F says for what values of x is f of x greater than 0? So what is x when y is positive? Well, y is positive when we are above the x-axis, towards the first and second quadrant. So for what values of x are we above the x-axis? The parts that are above the x-axis are this part right here, and this part right here on the right. So that looks like x is in between -18 and -3 for this left side above the x-axis. And it says type a compound inequality. That's the inequality where you have the x in the middle with the numbers bounding it on the outsides. So x is in between -18 and -3 for that left part above the x-axis. And then x is between 12 and 18 for this right part where it's above the x-axis. So I'll put a comma and I'll say x is between 12 and 18. Notice I'm just typing less than. I'm not saying less than or equal to. I don't want to include those endpoints because it just says where is y greater than 0. I'm not including where y equals 0, so I don't put a little equals line underneath. Just strict inequality, less than only, not less than or equal to. Alright, now part G, what is the domain of f? The domain is the input or the x values. So we always write these from smallest to biggest. The leftmost or the smallest x for this curve is negative 21. And this time that point is actually part of the curve. I want to include it in my answer. So I'll say less than or equal to, not just less than, because I want to include it. I'll have the equals line. And then the curve goes all the way through x equaling 18. So x is between negative 21 and 18, including the endpoints. Alright, and then for the range, I say the y values, so it's like the output, the y values from smallest to largest. Now for y, smallest to largest would be bottom to top. So it looks like the lowest y value, the bottom y value is negative 6. And I'll again do a compound inequality with the variable in the middle, including the endpoints. And it looks like the tallest, the highest y value is positive 9. Alright, now part I. This problem has a lot of parts. Part I, what are the x-intercepts? It's just asking for the x value, not the entire point. So just name the x's where it crosses the x-axis. And we actually already named those, because if we're on the x-axis, that means y is 0. So it's like the same as part E. The x is where y is 0, that is the x-axis. So it's going to be the same numbers again, negative 18, negative 3, and 12. That's where the curve crosses the x-axis. So I'll put those same answers again. Then part J, what are the y-intercepts? Where does it cross the y-axis? Or where is x 0? Because if you're on the y-axis, x has to be 0. That is this point right here. X is 0, y is negative 3. So negative 3 is the y-intercept. Alright, part K, for what values of x does f of x equal negative 6? So what are the points when the y-coordinate is negative 6? It's asking just for the x part of the point, not the entire point. So when y is negative 6, looks like that happens at 2 places. When y is negative 6, x is negative 21, and x is 6. So I'll write those with a comma. Alright, and then part L, for what values of x does f of x equal 9? So then you look for points where the y-coordinate is 9, and just name the x value from that ordered pair. It looks like there's just one point where the y value is 9. That's that negative 9, 9 point. And x is negative 9 there. So x is negative 9 when f of x is 9. And then the last part, part M, what are the zeros of f? We've already actually answered this twice. Zeros, that's another way of saying what are the x-intercepts, or what are the x's when y is 0. So those are the x values on the x-axis, again, that we've already named. And those were negative 18, negative 3, and 12. So I'll write those with a comma. Feel free to send me emails with questions. I'm always happy to help. Have a great day.